I I wanted to again. I don't mean to sound like I'm beating a dead horse, but just talk briefly about my stance on COVID vaccination. And I want to urge you that if you don't have the convictions that I've talked about, why not get the vaccine? I've stated pretty clearly why, as a religious person, I don't want it. I've shared my religious exemption. Um, but let's face it, at least preliminary, the risks associated with the vaccine do appear to be, and it's just based on the data we have, which I think is skewed. But even with skewing, like if you have a reasonable amount of skewing that's occurring, the vaccine is likely a better bet than going without the vaccine if you don't have the convictions to not take it. Let's face it, they have shown short term that the effects have have allowed people to have protection against getting it, and if they do get it, their symptoms don't tend to be as severe, and they don't last as long. And it appears also to have some positive benefit in preventing disease spread. So if you don't have convictions about it or concerns like I've raised, then why not get it? Why not get it? Um, I have friends who have gotten the vaccine who have the same religious, basically the same religious perspective as I do on most everything. But they believe that there is a greater good, and because the fetal cell line is generations removed from the original aborted fetuses, that it's okay. Now, I would have a statement about that, but I'm not going to bring it up. But I, I listen to them. I accept their argument. I say, okay, do that. That's one of the nice things about my faith, as expressed also very clearly in the Bible, is what's called liberty of conscience. Now, there is some limits to that. So, for example, if I somehow have the belief that it's okay to just randomly murder people, yeah, that's not liberty of conscience because there's very clear prohibitions against murdering in the Bible. Um, so, but the Bible doesn't talk specifically about the vaccine. It doesn't. It talks about murdering an unborn child being murdered, but it doesn't say anything about perpetuating the cell. So some things, like as a Christian applying my faith to medical ethics, I have to extrapolate my knowledge of Scripture and apply it to a modern context that sometimes is not about within the Bible. And any faith, any person writing is going to have to do the same thing because and here's my take on the scripture. Some people pan it because they'll say, "Oh well, it says it's predictive, but it didn't nuclear war," or the scripture was written to that local audience at that time so they could understand it. So if they start talking about nuclear war and things like that, they would have no ability to understand it. And I believe that, I'm getting into a little theology here. I believe in what's called the perspicuity of Scripture. That is a fancy term, but that basically means that God makes it clear His message with study of the Word. Um, the vast majority of what's in the Bible is understandable by the common layperson just reading it plainly. Perspicuity. That's what that is. Um, so with that said, I have to take what I know of the Scripture and apply it to a modern context and say, okay, what would God say about taking the vaccine? What would God say about doing, any kind of medical procedure? What would He say about plastic surgery? I believe there might be precedent to say that plastic surgery to enhance your, um, body parts just for the sake of sexual attractiveness is probably problematic. But is it okay to get reconstructive surgery after breast cancer and mastectomy? I think we have, liberty in that. I think on the one hand, getting a nose job, uh, let's say a la Michael Jackson, because you want that perfectly tapered nose, probably wasn't a good use of resources. But having a massive scar removed that is causing restrictions and it's very unsightly, I have no problem with that. So anyway, I just wanted to give that perspective because in the last few videos, I've come out pretty hard against getting the vaccine, and for me and many other people, we have a hard concern. Therefore, we're not going to get it unless we're forced to get it. And then I just pray to God that some of my concerns will not be validated. And part of the problem too, and some of you may have this, I have health issues. Some I can fix. I got to work on it. This past week was birthday after birthday. So we have a big family, but we have 3 birthdays within a week. First my daughter, then one of my sons, one of my daughters, one of my sons, and then me. So we just had birthday after birthday, cake and ice cream after cake and ice cream. So anyway, starting this week, I'm going to try to get back to the only successful modern thing I've done, which helped me with my getting thin again, and that was a combination of ketogenic dieting and intermittent fasting, and that will help me obviously with prevention of disease. But back to, I'm not the healthiest guy. Some people like myself have allergies, and so for us, we're concerned that we have a potential for allergic reaction, and some people have had pretty significant allergic reactions to the vaccines, and so I have that concern going on. I also have asthma. What's interesting is an early study promoted that asthmatics might have actually protection against getting COVID. I thought that was fascinating. I thought I would be more susceptible, but they were saying that research had not supported that at this time. That was like late last year. And they felt that maybe the asthma medicine people were taking was helping. Okay, maybe that's the case. The other concern I have is because of my allergies, I tend to be more reactive to things than some people. So if I were to take the vaccine, there is a possibility, just knowing me and my body, that I can react severely to it. Possibility, based on other reports of individuals. And when you're inflamed already, and I have some inflammation problems, if you have another allergy reaction on top of that, the potentiation, the increase in the effect of that allergic reaction could be pretty severe. So that, those are the things that I'm concerned about, but that's not my main reason for denying the vaccine. But anyway, going back to my original premise, if you want the vaccine, if you're not convicted as I am, why not get it? Just respect those of us who don't want it. That's all I'd say. Anyway, John Adamson, the Rehab and Documentation Guru. I'm likely going to take a break from that topic going forward. I'm sure many of you would appreciate that, and unless something significant occurs. But if you have a rehab topic you'd like discussed, a documentation topic you'd like discussed, feel free to shoot it my way. Take care. God bless.